in this series, I'll show you how to improve your chess game and go from beginner to intermediate and then advanced. We'll be focusing on the thought processes that you can use to help you win more games. Note we have two aid memoirs on the side here, evaluation and calculation. These are two powerful tools that we can use to help us win. So we'll kick it off with Martin, one of the computers. So we'll go ahead and start a game against him. We'll select random challenge. So material. If we have more pieces and or better pieces than our opponents, then we're going to have a bit more of an advantage over them, potentially helping us to increase the chances of winning the game. King safety. The idea is to get the king out of the center of the board. You don't really want any open space around the king, otherwise your king will be prone to attacks and potentially checkmates. We'll be focusing on piece development. All the back rank pieces we want to put into positions that are actually going to help us. We don't want them sitting in the back here. We also want some nice pawn structures. Center control. You want to gain control of these squares. You can either do that by putting our pawns directly in the middle in these squares here, controlling the center here on your opponent's side of the board. I also consider this sort of a centralized position, but having that sort of center control can really help us throughout the game. Calculation we won't worry about too much, but if we get into a position where we could probably use it, we will. So in the opening, we want to focus on center control. So we could start off with, say, e4, which is a very common one. Putting a piece directly in the center, gaining control of these two squares here. So we'll start with that very common opening. So with that, there's no control of the square here. So if you can, try put two pawns into the center, and we have control of all of these squares here now. I kind of like this idea. If they take, we take, we're threatening this. If they move, we can capture their queen, which means we remove the rights for black to castle, and we're ruining their king's safety. That's kind of the plan, I guess. So we can attack this. They might do something else. That's not how it's going to go, but that's the idea anyway. Okay, instead my opponent has ignored this threat here and they've developed a piece. So a pawn for a knight is a pretty good trade, giving us a slighter advantage. Okay, so they've... we can take this pawn now. We'll take a central pawn, removing some of their center control so they can't develop this one, and protect the king. We want to open up this file here for an attack later, so... Okay, they've taken with the queen, they've checked my king. This isn't a good move. One of the most common mistakes is moving pieces, controlling important squares. The queen was protecting this pawn, and this is a threat here right now. If I move this over here, their bishop can just take here. That's a free pawn. Just remember, before you move a piece, is it protecting anything? Is it controlling any important squares? I think I might just move my bishop out of the way for now, just blocking this check. Okay, they've checked me again. Another common mistake is not identifying your opponent's threats. So we have this check, but the queen is also looking at this pawn. It is protected, but that means we can't move this bishop here to attack the queen, because then they can just take here and then they might potentially get a free rook. So just be careful not to blunder these types of moves. We can move this forward. Our pawn structure stays very nice here. We're also protecting this piece, which is a threat here as well. It is protected, but we can create a nice pawn structure here. And we've created a threat to the queen, which has just moved now. I want to get my king to safety still, so I need to develop a piece. I'll move this towards the center. I want to try keep this king in the center. What I might do is, probably a good move is to bring it here, but I just want to show you what might happen anyway. Okay, they didn't. This is a 250 yellow player. Clearly they're not going to do pawn to f6, so we can just safely castle. Now we're protected behind these three pawns here. Okay, that's a bit of a blunder, having more or better pieces than our opponents. So you can have my lesser piece and I'll have your better piece, for lack of better words. I have a material advantage. They have two of my pawns, yes, but I've got one of their pawns and two of their knights. If we look at king safety, their king is still stuck in the center of the board, while my king is safe behind all these pieces here. My original plan was to trade off queens, but I kind of like this at the moment. We'll go here, attack their queen, and we'll trade, and now the king has to take. So now we've moved to the right for them to castle. We've achieved one of our objectives by putting our king to safety here and ruining our opponent's king safety. Develop a rook towards the center. So this is actually a tactic here. Black failed to see this. The moment we move this, anywhere it goes, here, anywhere along here, it's a discovered check. We're attacking the king, but we're also gaining a tempo move, so that works in my favor. Discovered check. Okay, take this pawn here, threaten that. They failed to move. This rook here is more valuable than this bishop here, so we can continue to develop our pieces. Two rooks in an open file, nice and strong. A few different things you can do. You can just move out of the way, say here. So moving your pieces away from the center of the board is not a good idea. Generally, putting it right here would be a good idea, because look at how many squares that this one piece in the center here controls. Let's remove this square for black's king to move. We could capture, they take, and then we retake. So I guess it's a bit of a good trade for me, because now I'm up 3 pieces, my rook and my 2 knights against just the black's king and their pawns. That's the power of having center control, which means we can actually bring our rook here, creating a fork here. So we check the king, which has to move, and then we get to capture a piece. So it's more stronger than this fork. King had to move to safety. We can now start chewing away at their pawns. Okay, they've created this threat here. We can just move up, and now these pawns can't move. So we could actually come here and start eating away at them. But these can't do anything, so that's just a hanging piece. Notice that king can't come past the 6th rank. So if you look at my rook on a6 here, it's got all that control. So these are kind of the only squares that black's king, well, not those two, black's king can move around in. And notice that we have a passed pawn here and here on these files here, which we could move to the end of the board and create another queen. Okay, we'll capture this pawn just to get it out of the way so we can push this pawn forward. And we'll stop black's ability to go onto the side of the board and the side. So we've actually cornered them in. These are the only squares that black's king can move in now. So remember, this was protecting this piece, so don't worry about it. We can just push this forward now. We create a queen. We're pretty close to checkmate now. Alright, in the next video we'll be facing Ilani, which is 400 elo, still in the beginner sort of elo range. If you have any questions, drop a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe to help support me in making more content. Most importantly, have fun playing chess.